Do you know Cape Town was not always South Africa? The land itself has passed through many hands, and its story is not simple. To understand Orania today, we must go back to the beginning. When the first Europeans arrived at the Cape of Good Hope in 1652, they were not coming to build a nation, but to set up a halfway station for ships of the Dutch East India Company. The Khoikhoi and the San were the first people there, living off the land and the sea. But little by little, the Dutch settlers, later called Afrikaners or Boers, began to expand. They farmed, they built homesteads, and soon the land of the Khoikhoi became the land of the settlers. By the 1800s, Britain had also taken interest in the Cape. Wars were fought, not only between Europeans and Africans, but between the Dutch-speaking Afrikaners and the British Crown. These Afrikaners, seeking independence, marched inland in what history calls the Great Trek, founding the Orange Free State and the Transvaal Republic. For them, the idea of self-rule, on land, they considered bought or conquered, became central to their identity. Then came the discovery of diamonds in Kimberley and gold in Johannesburg. Wealth transformed the region, and the British tightened their grip. Two brutal Anglo-Boer wars were fought. By 1910, the Union of South Africa was created, uniting British colonies and Boer republics, but at the expense of the indigenous African majority. The Afrikaner story, however, did not end there. By 1948, the National Party, built on Afrikaner nationalism, came to power. They built apartheid, a system of racial segregation that forced black South Africans into homelands, denied them citizenship, and reserved the best land, cities, and opportunities for whites. But the world did not remain silent. Liberation movements rose. The ANC, the Pan-Africanist Congress, Nigeria as a giant then, trade unions, student groups, sanctions, protests, and armed struggle weakened the apartheid regime. By 1990, Nelson Mandela was freed and apartheid's laws were dismantled. It was in this moment of great change that Orania was born. In 1991, a group of Afrikaners led by Karel Boshoff, the son-in-law of Hendrik Verwoerd, one of apartheid's chief architects, purchased a small, abandoned settlement on the banks of the Orange River. Their vision was not to fight the new South Africa with guns, but to retreat and build a community where Afrikaner culture, language, and identity would survive intact. In Orania, only Afrikaners are allowed to live. They control their land privately, they run their own schools, their own farms, even their own currency called the Ora. Black South Africans are not permitted to settle there or even to be hired for work. Every job, from farming to cleaning, is done by the Afrikaners themselves. To many South Africans, this is shocking. How can a community legally exclude others in a democratic South Africa? Yet the truth is, Orania is not illegal. Because the land is privately owned, its rules fall within the rights of association. Even Nelson Mandela visited Orania in 1995, meeting with Betsy Verwoerd, widow of Hendrik Verwoerd, and choosing reconciliation over confrontation. Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, and Cyril Ramaphosa have all been asked about Orania, but none have moved to shut it down. For the government, Orania is tolerated as long as it does not demand secession or break national law. Meanwhile, Orania has grown. From only a few hundred residents in the early 1990s, today it has thousands. They farm the land, build solar projects, run schools, and invite more Afrikaners to join. For them, it is a project of survival, a belief that in the broader South Africa, their language and culture might disappear. For others, it is seen as a continuation of apartheid thinking, a refusal to live in a diverse nation. Cape Town, the Western Cape, and the idea of secession connect to this. Movements like the Cape Independence Advocacy Group argue that the Western Cape should break away, forming its own country. They claim cultural and economic reasons. But the Constitution of South Africa does not allow any province to secede. In truth, no matter how loud the call, Orania and Cape secessionist groups remain under the authority of the South African state. Still, the existence of Orania tells us something deeper about South Africa's history. It shows how land, power, and identity are never simple. The Afrikaners came as settlers, fought to keep their independence, built apartheid, lost political power, but then built Orania as a small corner where their dream still lives. Whether one agrees with it or not, Orania is both a reminder of South Africa's past and a question about its future. Can a country born out of division truly be one nation? Or will enclaves and movements like Orania remain as signs that old wounds have not yet healed? As the proverb says, a scar may fade, but it never disappears. It reminds the body of the wound it once carried. Orania is such a scar, a living reminder of history and a challenge for the South Africa of tomorrow. As history and future converge, one wonders, can a nation find unity amid such diversity, or will the chapters remain divided by echoes of the past? My Oma used to tell me stories of the old land. She believed in a place where our language, our way of life, could thrive. I dream of a South Africa where everyone, no matter their background, finds a place to belong. Division has hurt us enough. The promise of tomorrow rests not only in remembering the past, but in forging connections that transcend barriers. In the quiet moments, beneath the African sky, perhaps the answers will come. Until then, Orania, Cape Town, and all of South Africa wait, watch, and continue their stories.